Okay, 7.1 we talked about adjacent and complementary angles, or adjacent and vertical angles. Now we're going to be talking about complementary and supplementary angles. So a complementary angle happens when two angles form a 90-degree angle. Happens when two angles form a 90-degree angle. Here's a way that you can remember this. So complementary starts with a C. And if I were to draw a line next to it, I can make it a 9, right? Complementary makes a 90-degree angle. So a complement then, to find an angle's complement, you're going to take 90 minus the given angle. So if I was given a 30-degree angle, I would take 90 degrees minus 30 degrees to give me 60 degrees. So the complement to a 30-degree angle is going to be a 60-degree angle. And that's going to be the only one. The complement to 30 degrees is always going to be 60 degrees. So then I have supplementary angles. If complementary angles form 90 degrees, it would make sense then that supplementary angles would form 180 degrees. So we're going to say when two, and I'm going to put or more in parentheses. No, I'm not. We're just going to say 2. When two angles form a 180-degree angle. So this one, supplementary, starts with S, right? If I use the same thing where I'm going to connect some lines, I can make this S into an 8. Supplementary goes with 180 degrees. So then to find an angle supplement, we're going to take 180 minus our given angle. So let's say we're given, we'll just make it easy, an 80-degree angle. I would take 180 degrees minus 80 degrees to give me 100 degrees. So the supplement to an 80-degree angle is a 100-degree angle. Okay, and then I wanted to do, we haven't really done labeling. I should have probably done this with 7.1 to label some of the parts of an angle that we have here. So one of the most important parts we would talk about is where this letter A is. And this here is what we call a vertex. The vertex is the point, right? It's the corner of our angle is the vertex. So I have two other parts of this. I don't know why my highlighter was red. I have these guys right here and right here. And these parts have a couple different names. So this can be either called a side. That's kind of how we're going to be talking about it the most. Side. We can also have the term arm, the arm of an angle. We can also have the term leg, right? So just think of body parts and you'll get it. Leg is mostly used when we talk about triangles, which we're going to get to. If we're just talking about angles themselves, we're usually just going to say it's the side of an angle. Okay? So those are our parts. All right. I also included for you here just an image to try to put together as much of the information as I could from what we've been talking about between adjacent and supplementary, vertical, complementary, all these kinds of things. So you can kind of look at that. Hopefully this makes some sense of what parts goes where, but hopefully that visual can maybe be helpful to you later on. All right. So we need to complete each sentence with either always, sometimes, or never. If x and y are complementary angles, complementary, remember, means 90 degrees. If x and y are complementary angles, then both x and y are blank acute. So acute, if we're talking about acute means less than 90 degrees. So if x and y are complementary, they're going to form a 90-degree angle. They need to both always be acute. Right? There's no way that they would not be acute. They would always be acute. If x and y are supplementary angles, supplementary means 180, then x is blank acute. So this one may feel a little bit tricky, but I don't really know what x and y are, right? Supplementary means 180 degrees, which means that most of the time one of them is going to be acute. So x then is going to sometimes be acute. Sometimes. If x is a right angle, then x is blank acute. Okay, a right angle means it's 90 degrees, right? I know that a right angle means it's 90 degrees. 90 degrees is not an acute angle, it's a right angle. So this one is going to be never. It's going to never be acute. If x and y are complementary angles, 90 degrees, then x and y are blank adjacent. Now this one might feel like, well, always, right? Because if they're complementary angles, they're going to be next to each other. Here's the thing though. I could have, here's an angle here. I'm going to say that's 60 degrees. Here's an angle over here. This is 30 degrees. They're not adjacent. They're not attached to one another, but they are still complementary angles. So this one is going to be sometimes. Because they, most of the time, in the ways that we're going to use them, they will be adjacent, but they don't have to be, okay? If x and y are supplementary angles, then x and y are, this one takes a little bit of thinking. So, vertical angles are across from each other, right? So if I have these two lines, they intersect, this is a vertical angle to this. I know that vertical angles are across from each other, and I also know that they are equal, okay? So if I have a supplementary angles, that means that they add up to 180 degrees, but they are equal because they're vertical angles. There is one situation in which this is true, and that situation is when I have perpendicular lines. So when these intersect at a right angle at 90 degrees, the supplementary angles would be 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. And x and y would be vertical. So we're going to put sometimes, but I might put a thing that it's only when x and y are right angles. Otherwise, this would be a never. Okay, the only time where that's true is when x and y are right angles. Otherwise, it's not going to be true. All right. Let's look at letter A. So we're going to tell whether they're complementary, supplementary, or neither. So here's what I mean by, we just talked about this, that they're always adjacent. These aren't adjacent. They don't share a side or a vertex, but they are next to each other. So the way that I figure out if they're going to be complementary, supplementary, or neither is figure out what do the angles add up to. So I would take 70 plus 110. Well, 70 plus 10 is 180. I know that that means that these are supplementary angles. I can do the same thing over here. I would do 41 plus 49 is going to give me 90. That means that these are complementary. If I go over here, I have 128 plus 62. That's going to give me 190. That's neither. And you can see that, like, these are attached, right? This is not a straight line. It kind of bows right there. So that's going to be a neither. Okay. Tell whether these are complementary or supplementary and find x. Well, these are going to form a 90-degree angle. So these are going to be complementary. I can see that already. And I know that when I put these two things together, it needs to equal 90 degrees. So that means I'm going to take 10x plus 30, and that should give me 90. Well, now I'm just going to solve this like normal. I know how to solve this. Subtract 30 from each side, and I get 10x equals 60. Divide both sides by 10, x equals 6. Okay? Easy enough. This one, then, forms a straight line right here. That means these are supplementary, 180. So this one, it has more x's, but it's the same concept, right? So I'm going to take 4x plus 40 plus 3x, and this time that needs to equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to combine what I can combine. It means I'm going to have 7x plus 40 over here equals 180. Subtract 40 from both sides. 7x equals 140. Divide both sides by 7. X is going to equal 20. Okay? All right, last one. Find the, well, on this page. Find the value of x needed to get the ball in the hole. So here I have a straight line, right? Straight line means it's 180 degrees. And here's where I started talking about supplementary angles could be 2 or more, right? Here I have x, 79, and another x. I technically have 3 angles that are being put together to form a 180 degree angle. So what that means is that I should be able to do x plus 79 plus x, and that's going to give me 180 degrees. So I can combine 2x plus 79 equals 180, minus 79 for both sides, 2x equals 101, divide both sides by 2. Well, I know that 100 divided by 2 is 50, 102 divided by 2 would be 51, so that means it needs to be right in between. So x would be 50 and a half degrees. Okay? All right, last page. This is going to go real fast. We're just going to do one of each of these together, and then you're just going to do the rest by yourself. So a complement, remember, complementary means 90 degrees. I want to find the complement to the given angle. So what added to 45 is going to give me 90. So I've got a couple ways to think about this. Initially we talked about, well, I can just take 90 minus 45. That's going to give me 45. Okay, another way that you could think about this, if you want to think about it algebraically, is 45 plus another number needs to equal 90, right? It's essentially the same thing, but it's the same concept. I just used a variable in the second term. So then in that case, you would still subtract 45 from both sides, and you get that x equals 45. Okay, so you can do the rest of those on your own. Supplementary means that it's 180 degrees, right? So I would take 180 minus 112. That is going to give me, what, 68 degrees? And I could do this the same way too. I could say 112 plus something needs to give me 180. And I would get the same answer that way. So you can go ahead and finish the rest of these on your own. The answers are in Canvas if you want to check those later.